Pocahontas. The myth and animation by Disney was actually based on a real person. Let's delve in and find out who she really was. In the lush, verdant lands of what is now Virginia, a child was born in 1596 who would one day bridge two worlds. Her name was Amanute, but she would come to be known by her nickname, Pocahontas, meaning playful one or mischievous child. She was the daughter of Wahunsinica, also known as Chief Powhatan, the paramount chief of the Powhatan Confederacy. Pocahontas grew up in a world of complex tribal politics and rich traditions. The Powhatan people lived in villages along the rivers of Senecamoca, their name for their homeland. As a child, Pocahontas would have learned the ways of her people gathering wild plants, farming corn, beans, and squash, and participating in important ceremonies. Despite being the daughter of the paramount chief, Pocahontas's early life was likely similar to that of other Powhatan children. She would have played games, helped with chores, and listened to the stories of her elders. The Powhatan had a matrilineal society, meaning that lineage and property passed through the mother's line. This gave women a significant role in their society, a fact that would shape Pocahontas's life in ways she couldn't yet imagine. As Pocahontas approached adolescence, her world was about to change dramatically. In 1607, when she was around 11 years old, strange ships appeared on the horizon. The English had arrived to establish what would become the Jamestown settlement. This moment would mark the beginning of a new chapter in Pocahontas's life, one that would see her become a key figure in the early relations between the Powhatan and the English colonists. The arrival of the English in 1607 marked a turning point in Pocahontas's life. As tensions grew between the newcomers and the Powhatan people, Pocahontas found herself in a unique position to act as a bridge between the two cultures. In the winter of 1607, a pivotal event occurred that would become one of the most famous stories associated with Pocahontas. Captain John Smith, one of the leaders of the Jamestown settlement, was captured by Powhatan warriors and brought before Chief Powhatan. According to Smith's later account, Pocahontas intervened to save his life when he was about to be executed. While historians debate the accuracy of this story, it became a powerful symbol of peace and intercultural understanding. Whether or not this specific event occurred as described, it is clear that Pocahontas did play a significant role in relations between the Powhatan and the English. She often visited Jamestown, sometimes bringing food to the starving colonists. Her presence during negotiations helped ease tensions and facilitate communication between the two groups. As Pocahontas entered her teenage years, she continued to be a key figure in this cross-cultural exchange. She learned to speak English and became familiar with English customs, while also maintaining her role within Powhatan society. During this time, she was married to a Powhatan warrior named Kokum, though little is known about this relationship. However, the peace between the Powhatan and the English was fragile. By 1610, relations had deteriorated into open conflict known as the First Anglo-Powhatan War. It was during this tumultuous time that Pocahontas's life would take another dramatic turn. In 1613, Pocahontas was captured by the English captain Samuel Argall, who intended to use her as leverage in negotiations with Chief Powhatan. She was taken to Jamestown and then to Henricus, another English settlement. This captivity would mark the beginning of a new chapter in Pocahontas's life, one that would see her fully immersed in English culture. Pocahontas's captivity marked a significant transition in her life. While held at Henricus, she was placed under the care of Reverend Alexander Whitaker, who began instructing her in the Christian faith. During this time, Pocahontas met John Rolfe, a widower known for his successful cultivation of tobacco in Virginia. In 1614, Pocahontas converted to Christianity and was baptized, taking the name Rebecca. Shortly after, she married John Rolfe. This union was seen as a diplomatic alliance, potentially ushering in a period of peace between the English and the Powhatan. Indeed, the marriage did lead to a cessation of hostilities that lasted for several years. In January 1615, Pocahontas gave birth to a son, Thomas Rolfe. This child would become a living symbol of the union between the two cultures, though his future would be primarily shaped by his English heritage. In 1616, the Virginia Company of London, seeking to attract more settlers and investment to the colony, decided to bring Pocahontas to England. They hoped her presence would demonstrate the possibility of converting the Native Americans to Christianity and assimilating them into English culture. Pocahontas, now known as Rebecca Rolfe, arrived in England in June 1616 with her husband and son. She was presented at court, meeting King James I and Queen Anne. The young woman from Virginia became something of a sensation in London society, with her exotic background and dignified bearing attracting much attention. During her time in England, Pocahontas was reunited with John Smith, whom she had believed dead. Their meeting was said to be emotional and complex, reflecting the dramatic changes in both their lives since their last encounter in Virginia. While in London, Pocahontas sat for her only known portrait, dressed in the height of English fashion. This image would become one of the most enduring representations of her, though it depicted her far removed from her Native American roots. Despite the apparent success of her visit, Pocahontas's time in England would be tragically short. In March 1617, as the Rolfes prepared to return to Virginia, Pocahontas fell ill. They had only reached Gravesend on the River Thames when her condition worsened. In March 1617, at the young age of about 21, Pocahontas died in Gravesend, England. The exact cause of her death remains unknown, though it's believed she succumbed to an English disease, possibly pneumonia or tuberculosis, to which she had no immunity. She was buried at St. George's Church in Gravesend on March 21, 1617. Pocahontas's young son, Thomas, was left in England to be raised by relatives of John Rolfe, as he was deemed too young to survive the dangerous journey back to Virginia. John Rolfe returned to the colony alone, where he continued his work with tobacco cultivation. The death of Pocahontas marked the end of the tentative peace between the English and the Powhatan. By 1622, full-scale conflict had resumed in Virginia. Despite her short life, Pocahontas left an indelible mark on history and popular culture. Number 1. Historical impact. Her role in early Anglo-Native American relations was significant, even if some of the stories about her were later embellished or mythologized. Number 2. Genealogical legacy. Through her son Thomas, Pocahontas became an ancestor to many prominent families in Virginia. Some notable Americans, including Edith Wilson, wife of President Woodrow Wilson, and astronomer Percival Lowell, have claimed descent from her. Number 3. Cultural icon. Pocahontas became a symbol of the potential for peaceful relations between Native Americans and European settlers. However, this symbolism often oversimplified the complex realities of colonial encounters. Number 4. Popular culture. Her story has been retold countless times in books, plays, and films, often with significant historical inaccuracies. The 1995 Disney animated film Pocahontas brought her story to a global audience, though it took many liberties with historical facts. Number 5. Historical reassessment. In recent decades, historians and Native American scholars have worked to separate fact from fiction in Pocahontas' story, providing a more nuanced understanding of her life and the broader context of early colonial America. Number 6. Symbol of cultural complexity. Today, Pocahontas is seen as a figure who embodied the complexities of cultural contact and change. Her life story continues to provoke discussions about identity, colonialism, and the intertwining of different cultures in American history. The story of Pocahontas remains a subject of ongoing historical research and cultural interpretation. Her brief life bridged two worlds in a time of momentous change, leaving a legacy that continues to resonate in American history and culture to this day. Remember to gently smash that like and subscribe buttons for more content like this.